What's up, Prime Culture? It's Diana here.
Hey, this is Cruz, and we're so excited to have this conversation with you all today. You know, we believe this. We believe that the culture should be an informed culture. It should be a culture that is always up to date and in the know. And at our church, we believe that we should be relevant. And so, you know, honestly, can we just have some real talk? With everything that's happening in our world right now, we just felt like we had to push pause and really focus on the matter at hand. And so today we got together with some of our friends who rock at Prime Culture, their family here at our church. And we decided to have a real conversation about everything that's happening in our world. And we're going to confront the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room of racism, bigotry, violence that is unjust and unfair. And really, hopefully we bring some understanding to the Black experience, even here in El Paso, Texas, at Abundant Living. And so we can't wait for you to have this conversation with us. We can't wait for you to meet our friends. Let's go. All right, you guys, so hey, welcome to the conversation. I can't wait for you to meet and hear from these incredible people. And so I'm gonna let them introduce themselves to you. And so we're gonna start with ladies first, all right? And so over here on my left is the incomparable Bola Akomolafe. Bola, what's good?
What's good? Hello,
You are so amazing. We're doing good, you're so amazing. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, so Bola, you are a biology science major?
Yes.
And you're about to be a master's student, a graduate student.
Yes, master's in management entrepreneurship.
Come on.
So,
Just pretty much a
used
boss.
to.
Pretty much a boss, right?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hey, Bola is like a daughter of the house here at Abundant. She's been here forever. FCA alumni.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
Go Lions.
Original line.
K3, OG. K3. And, you know, we love the Akomolafe family. You guys have done such an incredible job of being part of our church family. And we're grateful for you. Thank you for being here
Thank you.
today.
Thank you.
We got the awesome Cam Sloan.
How you guys doing?
What's good,
Yes,
bro?
sir.
Out of North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
But now in El Paso by way of North Carolina. You've been
Yes,
here
sir.
for several years.
Yes, sir.
Now you're in Tulsa?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing in Tulsa?
I go to school at Oral Roberts University.
Come on.
Yes, sir. I'm a
What-
business major and I jump track and field.
What's your events?
Long jump, triple jump, and high jump.
So you can jump.
A little.
bunny.
I try. I try.
He got
can jump.
some bunny hops. He
Yes,
can
sir.
jump. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I love it, man. Hey, thanks for being on the conversation
Thank you for
today,
having
man.
me.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Chris, we love you, man. Chris Braswell, aka Brazzy, aka the DJ, aka the man.
AKA Prime Essential
Hey,
Guy.
hello. Chris is one of our incredible leaders at Prime Essential, our junior high and high school ministry here at Abundant. And dude, we love you. I love how much the kids love you, man. How much
Appreciate it.
God is using you and your influence to point them to Jesus, man.
Trying,
And
bro.
so
Trying.
tell us a little bit about yourself, bro. What's the deal? What's the story?
I've been in El Paso 5 years now. I'm from Los Angeles, California, Inglewood, up to no good. You know what I'm
Hey, up
saying?
to no good. Let's go.
Yeah. I came here with my family. They moved here. My dad had a job at UTEP coaching, and they moved back, and I decided to stay because El Paso's home now.
I love
like
it.
it.
I
Wow.
love it.
Wow.
I love it. Hey, that's how El Paso got me too. I came here when I love it, dude. I love it. And last but not least, we have Ensley and Lauren Bruce,
Yep.
who are new to our church family.
Yes.
Been here several months, but man, it feels like we've been connected forever.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your story. You're from South Florida, the MIA,
561, actually.
561.
Okay.
Okay.
West Palm
There you go.
Beach.
West Palm Beach,
Yeah.
FL. Oh my gosh,
Have
that's
we
got
missed
country.
The
Yeah.
Sunshine State is the best.
Yeah. Missing
Come
that
on.
beach.
Wow. So Ensley, you're in the military.
Yeah.
You serve in the Army.
I'm serving in the Army right now. This is my first duty station.
Wow.
And actually, originally, I wanted to go overseas, but now I see why God placed me here.
Praise God. Praise God, man. Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Lauren, you are awesome. You're part of our worship team, and you are a woman of God extraordinaire. And the both of you are raising a beautiful baby girl, 2-year-old, beautiful Erin Bruce. She's incredible.
Yeah, she's And charity. 2 going on 21.
Aren't they all? Sweet
For
Jesus.
real. Hey, listen, but we're so excited and we're so grateful that God sent you to us and made you part of our family, right?
Yeah, we're happy. You guys treat us like family. We love that.
Well, listen, the truth is this, that we don't just treat like, we believe you are.
Yeah.
You know, we really
Yeah.
do. And that's our heart, you guys, that we have a relationship with each other like family. You know, the Bible calls us the family of faith,
Yeah.
right? And that's what today is about, right? Every healthy family has several things. We have values, right? And part of our core values is we love God and we love people.
Yeah.
We're going to pursue excellence, right? And so today, that's what this conversation is about. We want to excellently understand the experience of members of our family, our
Yeah.
brothers and our sisters. You know, something that happens in good, healthy families is that you're able to have real
Conversation.
talk,
Yeah.
real conversation. And that's what today is about, right? We're going to confront the real conversation, the 10,000-pound elephant that is in the room, right? Which is what? Racism, bigotry,
Social
unfair
injustice.
treatment and injustice
Yeah.
for the entire Black experience, right? And I just want to say thank you ahead of time
Yes, sir.
for having a real conversation with us. So let's just talk about it, man. You know, I think a lot of times people will say, you know, this may be the go-to statement. Hey, you know what, Cruz? I get it, man. That happened, man. Yeah, of course that happens down south, and of course that happens in LA, and of course that's happening in New York and Minneapolis, right? But not in El Paso.
Yeah.
We're brown in El Paso, bro. We're 80% Hispanic in El Paso, bro.
Talk
that
about
might be
it.
true.
Right?
Right.
That might be true.
That might be true, but
Right.
Okay, talk about it, Chris.
okay, coming in here, I was thinking about like stuff to talk like what to talk about, and the one thing that kept coming on the top of my head was like the use of the N-word here in El Paso. I don't know if you guys have felt it. I know you've been here forever. You probably have. You've been here a few years. Y'all just got here. You gonna feel it. But it's just crazy to me how, like, again, no shade, but it's like how, like Mexicans can think like, oh, we struggle too. I can say the N-word. Like, oh, my skin's dark. I'm not white. Only white people can say it. Like, I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it like that. And that's what kind of like annoys me. It's like, I don't think you're a racist if you say the N-word, because I know, like he's kind of said earlier, like I know your heart. I know you're not calling me
Right.
that.
Right.
I understand you're trying to be cool, and that's what the annoying part is. Like you sound ignorant because you're trying to be cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I saw a tweet the other day. It was like, I wish America loved Black people the way they love Black culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is to me. Like, I'm gonna keep it real. Like, no shade to Prime Essential, but like, even I hear kids like in the youth, like,
Whoa, hold up.
yeah,
Wait a minute. Hold on. I need to understand. So we've got students at Prime Essential
100%,
dropping the N-word.
100%.
Like at
To
church?
each other, not even the Black kids, like to each other, like
Like at church?
yes.
So hold on. Let me just give you a PSA real quick, okay? Public service announcement. We don't do that here,
Come on.
okay? We don't say that here. And if we hear that that's happening here, we're gonna have a conversation.
Yeah.
For real. We don't do that here. And Chris, you said something really key, man. You said that, yeah, maybe people don't do it from a bad place, a malicious place. Maybe they're not saying, well, that's not what I mean by it.
Yeah.
But listen, we gotta make sure we're not ignorant,
Yeah.
right? Because that word is connected to another word
Yeah.
that was used to dehumanize
Yeah.
and classify Black people as not human,
Yeah.
as not a full man, like 3/5 of a
man.
person.
Yeah.
And though that word was used to remind Black people of back
their
then what they
place.
said, this is your place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
That's
even
not
if you
okay.
don't mean it, you need to understand what it represents.
Yeah.
Right.
And I promise you that if you sat in a room with someone who was Black, who was affected by that history, and you heard the hurt and the pain and the humiliation behind that word, you wouldn't even use any variations of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
and I think it comes to the lack of education.
Mm.
We hear it in our culture, we hear it in our music. Like there's no filter in it, you know,
Yeah.
like it's everywhere. But I think where we need to kind of like nip it in the bud is the first time you see someone say it, you kind of like educate them on there. You know,
That's
like
good.
I was saying earlier that, for example, I could be Hispanic, Chris is Black. We grow up together. We've known each other for a long time, right? And he says it to me. I know his heart. I know his, intentions. It's not evil, but he says it around anybody else that he doesn't know. He's gonna catch heat
know
for
you
that.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole and the,
I
and the
don't
whole
know
thing
you
like,
like
oh,
that.
if I say it around Chris doesn't care when I say it.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But like
It's like almost like,
Yeah.
oh, I get a pass, like
They're trying to
buddy
justify
pass,
it, yeah.
you know. So
it's I don't get why you have to fight so hard to use a word. Like, why does it matter that much to you? If people say, oh, it's just a word, it's the word, then why are you fighting so hard to say it? If it's just a word, don't say it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's that simple. You know what I'm
And
saying?
I think like going back to what Ensley and Chris was saying, that and even you understanding the context of the word, to even go deeper to where, let's talk about slavery. People came here stripped of their culture, stripped of their language, stripped of their native tongue, stripped of who they were as a person, and to be given, like you said, dehumanized and yeah, dehumanized with that word. And so hearing people say it again is just like you said, it's a constant reminder that you weren't even seen as human. You're not even seen as worthy. And it's a trigger to most people.
Yeah.
And so it goes more to, well, it's just a word. It's a sense of me actively reminding and replaying that trauma in my head of what that word represented.
Yeah.
So now that we know, it's our responsibility not to do it again, right?
Right.
So once we understand something, then don't do it.
Right.
And I think-
Language has
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Language just have a lot of power, you know?
Right.
And when people say it's just a word, those things bring a lot of weight. And we're just thinking about like the human language, I mean the American language. Just think of the word black, for instance. Like that in America, most times associates a lot of bad things. Black male, black cat, black
on.
magic. I mean, even the devil's cake is brown. Like the angel cake is white, you know? It's just so when you think about like the way that they already portray us when they put the word black and then you add the N-word, we've already seen as evil, as dark. And so it's not just a word. The language just brings so much power to it. So when you think about there's a difference between racism and injustice. You think about racism it's a matter of the heart. It's how you feel. There can't be any laws for racism. They can't arrest you for not liking me because I'm black. You know?
Yeah.
But the things that you say following that, those things hurt.
Yeah.
Those things are real. And you think about the culture that we're in right now, we're not okay. Like as black people, we're not okay.
Yeah, and I think there's like a big misconception. It's like, yo, that was like 400 years ago. You didn't live through it. That was like, yo, yeah, you know, it's like, but my thing is, it's like, okay, I didn't live through it, but I'm still living through the whole systematic issue. You
I'm
know,
still being affected
I'm
by
still
it
being
today.
affected by it till
Right.
today. You know,
Yeah.
You know, I think I love the course of this conversation because I think the truth is we really are ignorant. Right now, ignorant isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Ignorance is simply not knowing. Denial and ignorance are two different things, right? To know, but to pretend like it's not there.
Yeah.
That's literally what James chapter 4 called sin,
Yes.
right? James, Jesus' brother, said, sin is when you know the right thing to do, but you don't do it. Ignorance is just not knowing better.
Yeah.
And our goal here is to help us know better, right? Because there are things that are so just daily for you all in the Black experience that are daily process and daily ways of thinking that for us, it's completely foreign. It's completely not even, there are things that I promise you that as we talk about it, like those of us that are watching this are gonna say, I had no idea. And they say that ignorance is bliss, but I heard it said it this way recently. You know, someone's ignorance is bliss, but it's also someone else's destruction,
Yeah.
right? And our goal is to make sure that our culture is not ignorant, right? And so talk to us a little bit about just, not just the massive injustice, right? Obviously what happened to George Floyd is disgusting. We stand against it. Our church vehemently stands against that kind of abuse, that kind of injustice, right? But you all live with nuances and experiences on a daily basis that we have no idea about. Can you help us understand what some of those are like, right? Like I heard you guys talking about earlier about like just certain things that you had to talk about when you got a driver's license.
Yeah.
Bola, will you share that with us?
Yeah. So I think that was actually Lauren, right?
Was it you, Lauren?
Yeah. Even Camp.
Yeah.
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 Me
Well,
getting my
talk to us
license,
about Kemp.
mom's telling me, hey, like, don't play music loud.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be riding around too late at night in neighborhoods because if a white person sees you, they might just think you're doing up to no good and call the
Yeah.
cops on you. Don't walk outside past 11 o'clock at night because you get seen. I'm scared to walk I'm in my neighborhood sometimes with a hoodie on because I feel like I'm just getting judged as I walk.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean-
just certain things we can't do.
Yeah.
that other
Like when you
people
go
can
in a
do.
store, don't touch things that you do not plan to buy because they may think that you're about to steal it. It's just like the smallest thing that I did not think white America think about that we have to constantly think about that every step we make, everywhere we go. For instance, like we bought a house in
What's in Lucy?
a nice neighborhood where we have, and I feel like I have to be overly friendly in my own neighborhood where I pay mortgage
Yeah.
because I want to come off as a familiar face. So if one random day you see me dark at night, late at night, you don't call the cops on me, even though I live here. You know, I have to take that extra step to make sure you know me. You know, when I go to my mailbox, hey, you know?
Yeah.
Those are polite things, but like I have to do it and take an extra step to do those things just to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
And
I
I
think it's like back to the driver license conversation. One thing like that every black kid in America, that conversation is your parents is gonna police you before the police actually police you.
Straight up.
Right.
You know, it's like once you go to that DMV, that conversation back is this is how you drive, this is how you're supposed to look, this is what you do. Don't do this, don't do that. You know, and it's like, yeah, I'm not saying like at least from my experience, I don't know if other races or cultures are doing it, but I know in our family and our background, that's part of the whole driving license process.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a test that you have to pass before we actually let you drive by yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
So we're from South Florida, and I remember one instance we were driving in like a wealthier neighborhood in Miami. You remember?
Yeah.
And we had a black Honda Accord, and the windows were not tinted. It was like a newer car, and we got pulled over. And I mean, my heart just sunk. I'm holding tight to my phone. My hand is shaking. I'm like, should I record this? Should I not record this? Because I don't know. Like, are we gonna make it? Like, just being pulled over. Like, they didn't even get to my car yet. And when they get to the car, the officer said, "Do you know why we pulled you over?" And we're like, "No." And he said, "Oh, because your windows are too dark." And we had no tint on our car. So we knew like it's because we were too dark and we
Yeah.
were in a neighborhood that we're not supposed to be in or we don't belong in. But like just those ideas, like you get nervous just seeing a cop driving, even if you're following the speed limit, you have your license, your registration, it does not matter. All those things. You live in fear every day. You walk around in fear and like it's just not fair. That's not the life that we should have. Like when we talk in church about having the abundant life and not living in fear and faith, but like this is my reality. This is every day. And I want the rules or the promises of the Bible to really apply to me 100%. When they say justice for all, I don't want a parentheses after that.
Asterisk. Yeah. Straight
I
up.
want that for me too. I want that for my daughter. I want just, fairness. And I feel like you were talking about ignorance. If I have to convince someone today in 2020 that racism is wrong, they're making a choice to be ignorant.
Yeah.
Like that is their choice.
knowledge is like all over the place. And
Like
And especially here too. Like that's one thing that bugs me about El Paso. Like I love El Paso. Like I love it here. But
And El Paso loves you.
yeah, but like people really out here really think that El Paso's not like other cities. Like,
you
it's like-
cannot
it's like
escape
that's
racism.
not the case. Like I got pulled like 2 years ago. Okay, I'm driving home from my friends. I was driving from church. See, okay, and
Not better.
and I'm not trying to like be a victim here, like or trying to sound like a victim, but I feel like at this point I don't care anymore.
Well, what it
I'm
is,
about to
but you look, what it is, and I want to give some. I'm not trying to correct, but I want to give some language to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This isn't, and I hope it's not coming across like we're trying to.
That's just my no, not
re-victimize,
you at all.
right?
That's just my thing. That's just how I feel
But the big
sometimes.
thing
Yeah.
here is that we have to, and the culture has to acknowledge
Yeah, no, straight
that
up.
there is a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if we don't acknowledge the difference, we'll always deny the experience.
Yeah, straight up. Like
We
I
have
need
to
people
acknowledge
know. Like straight
that
up.
things are different for you than it is for me.
Yeah.
For your children than it is for my children. For your daughter than it is for my daughter. I have to acknowledge that. And if I don't acknowledge it, I will deny. And maybe not overtly be like, oh no, but I will overtly turn my eye, if I'm not careful, to the experiences that you have.
Yeah.
So, dude, we need your experience. You need
sure.
to help us understand.
Yeah. So I was driving home after a Wednesday service. I was driving home, and on Mesa, kind of by downtown, by a flower shop. It's really bumpy, right there. And so I was driving. I was going 40. I was 10-2. I was good. You know what I'm saying? And I hit the bump, and I kind of like moved a little, and all of a sudden I see, bloop, 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 and the cop. I was like, oh, here we go. And the first thing I thought, I had my do-rag on and a hoodie on. And so the first thing I thought, I remember my parents telling me, don't wear your do-rag outside the house because this is the way you look. You'll look like a thug, all that kind of stuff. You can't let them see you like that. So first thing I did was take it off, take out my do-rag, take my hood off, put my hands on the steering wheel. Like, hello, officer. Okay, like, what? He's like, you know why I pulled you over? I was like, no, sir, I don't. My parents always told me to say yes, sir. And he was like, you kind of swerved in the middle of that lane right there. He was like, you've been drinking? I was like, no, sir. He's like, where are you coming from? I said, I'm coming from church. He's like, which church? I said, Abundant Living Faith Center. He's like, oh, what's the address? Where's that church at? I'm like, bro, I don't know the address of the church. How am I supposed to know the address, bro? I don't know the address. And that automatically, I was kind of like, what, bro?
Wow.
And he was like, do you have any weapons in the car or anything like that? And I was like, no, sir. And he like made me get out the car, search my car, call someone else, another officer, had me get out the car, and all this kind of like big stuff to find nothing. And then they gave me a ticket, and they said I changed lanes in the middle of the intersection, which I didn't. You know what I'm saying? So little stuff like that, like the whole, like, oh, what's the address? Like, bro, how am I supposed to know what the address of the church is? Like, I don't know the address of McDonald's I go to.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, straight up, I don't know my friend's addresses. I just go there. You get me?
Yeah.
There's also like the acidified weapons in the car, all that kind of stuff. How I've been drinking, have I been smoking? Do I have any drugs in the car? All that kind of stuff. It's like, it happens here. Like,
Right.
it happens here. I was doing nothing. A lot of people see that stuff. Like, what was the backstory? We've got to find out what happened before that. Well, before that, I was coming home from church.
Yeah.
Straight up. That's what that happened before. You know what I'm saying?
And-
So little
and-
stuff like that happens that people need to see that still happens here.
Yeah, and to a lot of people, it might seem like, oh, that was just like one instance. You know, that was just like one incident. You know, like the same stories that he shared, I guarantee you 1,000 of us
Yeah.
like,
Straight up.
have that
Right.
same story. You know, I remember I was like, you know, it's kind of hard because like when you come from somewhere and you know God deliver you from something, and it constantly people are trying to remind you of it. So I remember I grew up in a bad neighborhood, and my goal was like make it out, live in a nice place, get a nice car. Maybe they'll treat you differently. They won't see you the same way anymore.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, regardless of what you do, you can't change your skin color. You
Yeah.
know, I worked at the bank for 10 years, right? And I was a personal banker. So I lived in a wealthy neighborhood in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, where retirement people live. The Hunter Classic happens there, big tournament, right? And I work at a bank. The bank is literally right behind my house. But I still drive because I'm lazy. So, so I still drive there because I'm lazy. But so I get in my car. We had a late night, you know, banker's hours 9 to 5. But I had to go do a presentation at a retirement company. So I'm living in a wealthy neighborhood, millions of dollars in there, in my suit and everything. I'm thinking it's night, but you good because you look the part, right? I get out the neighborhood. I don't know if you guys remember the whole Corey Jones situation. That same exit where he got killed at was the same exit I got pulled over. So when I saw that, I'm like, that could have been me.
Yeah.
You know, like I got to go home that night. He didn't get to go home.
Mhm.
But the reason for me being stopped is I'm black in a wealthy neighborhood. A lot of people might look at it as like, come on, man, it was just one incident. But like you get pulled over for nothing and they try to find something.
Yeah.
What's the reason for checking somebody's vehicle for being pulled over because they
Swerving.
swerve?
Yeah.
Like connect the two for me, you know? So it's like our reality to a lot of people is like they might like look at it and be like, yo, it was just a one-off situation. But like those things traumatize you.
Yeah.
You know, like once I found out that man got killed, you know, coming from a gig at the same exit that I got pulled over one day, I might look at it and be like, man, thank God for grace. But it's also selfish of me because I made it out, he did it. You know? So that things you kind of, it hunts you.
Yeah.
I
Like-
think. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, well, yeah. Just earlier when you said that us as Black people, we have to kind of make ourselves known, and it's an instinctful thing for us to where we have to either dress apart or introduce yourself to this person, so that way they can not use it or hold it against you. More impressive. So someone could work 5 times harder, but you have to work 20 times harder because of the color of your skin. And one thing, I have 2 brothers. I have 4 siblings, 2 brothers, 2 sisters. But one thing where even though I have an older brother, I'm still overprotective of both of them. And earlier when we were speaking, my youngest brother, he's going to his 3rd year at Texas State, and advising him like, you know, Demola, don't take classes at the night, because I like, even though I'm not saying it directly to you, but I'm thinking that I'm afraid that I don't want you to walk home from class to your dorm and then something happens. I don't want you to be another hashtag. I don't want you to be, you know, another statistic. And so, or like my older brother who plays basketball in China and feeling more relieved and safe that he's playing basketball in another country because of what's going on here. And so just always constantly like, hey, make sure you have your location on, because if mom and dad can't get a hold of you, like at least we'll know where you're at. Or give me the emails and phone numbers of your roommates, because it's a constant thing that we have to be 10 steps ahead, because I'll honestly speaking, like I would break if that were to ever happen to me. Like I honestly would break. So
Yeah, Kim, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, just like I just know. So me in school, when I was in high school, freshman year, second week of school, I was in a program called New Tech, and being told by my own teacher that they don't think I'm qualified to be in the program of the school kind of hurt, because they pointed me out of everyone. I was like one of the only black kids actually in that program, and for them to tell me I don't think you're ready to be in this program, like it's like, wow, am I dumb or something? Like, what's making me not ready to be in this program?
You got an academic scholarship.
Yeah, ended up
Right.
graduating 3.8 GPA, and it's like they came to me saying like I'm sorry after the fact, but it's like you just told me I wasn't smart enough to be in this program, but now I am, because now you look good because you taught me and I have a high GPA.
Right.
It just like sometimes sometimes in sports, like at my school I go to now, I feel like I'm used sometimes like, hey, like if you didn't play sports, would the teachers really help you out as much as they do, or were they just like, oh, you're just another black person, you're another black kid, just keep doing what you
Right.
do? For me,
Wow. I think that
Tokenism, bro. Tokenism.
I think that this is really, really key right here, because racism isn't always overt, and it isn't always this big, just right.
Mm.
You know, we were talking about it earlier that Rick Ross, Jay-Z said it, Kaiser Sose, and the Usual Suspects said it, right? But the greatest trick the devil ever played on humanity was to convince him that he didn't exist,
Yeah.
right? Let's talk a little bit about that. That racism isn't just I call you the N-word, right? Racism isn't just that I single you out because you're the only black kid in the class, right? Let's talk a little bit about some biases that people who wouldn't even think about a certain bias or a certain behavior or a certain treatment of you, right? Like this is an opportunity for us to sit at your table and say, hey, what are we doing right now that's not helpful?
Yeah,
right?
or
What
even
or
that,
that is like friendly fire, right? What were you gonna say?
right. Even that quote that we all probably saw on Facebook, it's talks about, well, I have a black friend or I have a black girlfriend, and
I can't be racist.
right, I can't be
I
racist
dated a black
because
girl one time. I'm not racist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
those comments, right? Those comments or you know, those thoughts that just because I have a black friend, I'm not racist. Can you tell us how that makes you feel?
It's like my thing is like I don't think they're necessarily racist, but I do think that's subtle racism. You get what I'm saying? It's just the oh not me kind of thing. And those are the kind of people that I think have been the most silent during this time. Like the whole like I went to the protest here in El Paso, you know what I'm saying? I took pictures and everything, and somebody I know screenshotted my picture, and this person's been all over social media talking about, oh, my heart is hurting for the black community. Oh, yes, oh, yeah, Black Lives Matter, George Floyd. But he hasn't texted me once. I don't need him to text me, 100%. I do not need him to text me. You know what I mean? I don't care. But the fact that you're on social media doing all this, and then I guarantee you I'm the only black friend that he has. Guaranteed.
Wow.
100%. He's not reached out to me once.
Wow.
Guaranteed. But he's reposting my picture and putting all this stuff on social media, being all corny and just trying to be woke. You get me?
Yeah.
That's the subtle racism right there.
Wow.
Like it's subtle. It's like
Right.
I'm gonna act like I'm there for you, but I'm not really there for you.
Right.
He
Because
wasn't.
think
I
that-
wanted to comment and be like, bro, you weren't even there. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, I'm not gonna, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah. Like, I feel like
Right.
God will expose. Like, God will expose the real and the fake.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. That's a big deal. Jesus said it this way. He'll expose the lamb and the goats.
Straight up.
Right? The sheep and the goats,
Yeah.
right? But man, you said something right now where it's like, man, you're not calling, you're not checking on me, right?
Yeah.
And the truth is this, and I want us all to really just confront this truth on this, that when it comes to racism, when it comes to injustice, right? MLK said it this way, right? Injustice in somewhere becomes a threat to justice everywhere.
Yeah.
And there is no such thing as moral neutrality
Right.
when it comes to this issue,
Yeah.
That's right.
right? Like if you know it's happening and you just are neutral, we're complicit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
But I mean, I agree to that to a certain extent,
Okay.
though.
us out.
So what I see is like even the friends that I have that are of other races, and what I see a lot of corporate companies are doing is that there's a difference between looking racist and being racist. So like they'll put out a statement, they'll make a comment, or they're like, "Hey man, yeah, Black Lives Matter."
Make their picture
but-
black on
Yeah,
Instagram.
but it's deeper than that. You know,
Yeah.
are you just trying not to look racist?
For your
Right,
benefit.
right,
For
Yeah.
your
right.
benefit,
Wow.
or are you actually not?
Wow.
You know,
Right.
because looking racist and being racist are two different.
Yeah.
And
two
the
different
sad
things.
part is, that's the part that sucks to me is we'll never know. You get me? Like,
Yeah.
I know God will expose it, but for right now, we're not gonna
Well-
know the real, like, you know what I'm saying?
And I think that's the importance of having these conversations.
Mhm.
The importance of, hey, it's more than just being trendy, or it's more than just like, okay, 3 weeks after this, then all right, let's move on with their lives.
Yeah.
But some people get to move on, and us,
We
we have to
don't.
go back to our reality of reliving this, and then hoping that another hashtag doesn't come back to where it's another trigger warning.
Yeah,
warning
like
that
have the conversation, you know, like
Right.
That's great.
like there's a bunch of like, you know, yeah, like you were talking about earlier, the stereotypes or black people chicken, watermelon, and all that, the subtle stuff, right? Yeah, but like talk to me.
Right.
You know, like Chris was saying earlier, like, okay, I know you know me, you're doing all of this stuff, like, but the person that you know,
Wow.
you're not reaching out to. So it kind of like make me feel some type of way. You know,
Right.
I have a lot of friends who, you know, very outspoken about it, supportive of it and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But I haven't heard from you. You know, it's like, so again, are you trying to not look racist, or, you know?
Yeah.
That's
You
a big
actually-
deal
And
right
again-
there.
That is a
That's
big
a
deal.
big deal
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I don't want people to think like people hit me up, ask if I'm okay. Like I don't need that. You get me? I don't need you to check on me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want people to think, oh, I didn't text him. Like, nah, bro. Like I don't need that. You know what I'm saying? Just be about it.
Right.
Like, don't do something for me, like because I'm me. Do it
I
because you
think
care about
also-
what's going on.
I think also on our end, sometimes I guess the correct thing would be we don't know what to say. So sometimes
I
they
get
just
that. That's
don't
tough.
say
Yeah, I
anything,
get it.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of Black friends, and I did. I called everybody, I texted everybody, and I don't know what to ask. But are you okay?
But
And
it means
so-
something. I guarantee you, it meant something to them.
Right.
It meant something.
Right.
And I think one of the things that somebody did respond, and she was like, no, should I be okay? And I responded, I wasn't hurt or anything. I was just so sad because no, you shouldn't be okay, but I don't know how else to ask. So I'm sorry that this is my ignorance, but I'm reaching out with what I know and with what I can. So I think helping us understand what are good ways or words to reach out for, that way you guys don't feel uncomfortable when we do reach out, you know?
Yeah, I know. I love what you just said, right? Because a lot of times that really is the thing, right? It's like I don't know what to say, right? I don't want to say the wrong thing,
Yeah.
right? And what happens if we're not careful is that not knowing what to do turns into this kind of this. It really does turn into like an apathy or like an indifference or like a sense of despair, right?
Yeah,
like I'm hopeless. I don't know what to
insecurity.
do,
Yeah, like,
right? And so I don't say anything, and so that is another form of denial, which now I'm still part of the issue, right? And so maybe, just maybe, it's like, well, if you don't know what to do in a specific case, do what you do know how to do with the person you know.
I'm your friend.
Right?
Like you know,
Exactly.
you know what I'm
So
saying? Like,
I'm not just gonna treat you as
Yeah.
like a Black person.
Yeah.
I'm gonna treat you like my friend who's
Right there.
hurting.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the
right.
thing. I want to treat you like my friend who's hurting.
it's that simple, bro. It's that simple. Just treat
Is
us like,
it
like
really
a
that
friend.
simple,
That
Chris?
literally is all it is.
Yeah,
Like,
you call
literally, it's
someone,
that
you can
simple.
just say like, I see what's going on. How are you feeling?
Right.
You know, rather than just assume like they're okay or business
They're
as
not
usual,
affected by
or
it.
just like
Yeah.
texting about something so random just to like move on.
Yeah.
Just but ask like, how are
It's
you
kind of
feeling?
like a to-do list, you know, like if I just text him or her, how you doing? I'm like, okay, I'm not racist because I checked on them.
Right.
You know, but I think
It needs to be genuine.
Yeah.
It needs to like
Right.
come from a good place, not someone like I had friends that like that are white that called me or text me and asked me like help me understand like the looting. Like, you know, they just wanted to understand like how does it connect? Is this something I'm missing? You
That's
know, like
great they asked.
you
Like,
know,
that's
like
cool.
they
That's
asked
super-
me and
that's
I was
cool.
able to have like a conversation with them rather than, you know,
I think you just said something really, really key. I posted something. I reposted a statement, and it said it's a difference between pride and humility, right? And so pride says, I don't understand, so you're wrong.
Yeah.
Humility says, I don't understand. Will you help me understand?
Right.
Right? And Micah 6:8, because I'm a preacher. I'm gonna bring the word into this, right? Micah 6:8 says this. You know, oh man, what the Lord has demanded of you,
Yeah.
right? To do justly, to do what's right, to love mercy, and to walk with humility. And humility will say, listen, I don't know what to tell you, but I do know I love you.
Right.
Will you help me understand?
we're
Where you're
normal
at.
people. Just like you would reach out to someone who is mourning the same way. And like I don't know if anyone else have experienced this, but like I feel like as a Black person, when someone who is not Black try to have a conversation with me, they make it so awkward. Like tell me about
Crazy-
that Tyler Perry movie.
Crazy
I
Times,
don't
right?
even watch Tyler Perry. You know what I mean? Like, don't
He's
make
not
it
funny.
awkward.
I don't know about the Tyler Perry
Yes,
movie,
like,
bro. Like,
so,
that funny?
you know, like,
That-
they
that
just
cooler
try to
talk,
make it
that
like
cooler talk, you know?
racial.
Did you see
like,
the game last night?
yeah, it's normal. Like, just be normal. Just like treat me like family. Just talk to me like a normal person.
I love Lauren. I love where you're because I don't want to totally interrupt. Keep pin where you're at, right? But I want to put some good handles on this, right? Because I think most of us who are going to watch this are going to say, okay, I hear you. Give me something, like help me, right? And so I want to give you guys I want to just like give a couple statements, and then you tell us what that sounds like, what that could look like between interaction between non-black friends and black friends, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
So if we say this, look, like you can't understand it personal, but you can make it a personal thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? What does that look like? What would that look like for someone like me who says, man, I don't understand what that's like personally, but I'm gonna make this a personal thing, right? What I'm hearing you say is like, hey, don't small talk me,
Yeah.
right?
We see right through that.
We
Don't-
see
we see right through that, bro.
Exactly, right? So come into a sincere conversation with me, right? Listen to understand,
Yeah.
right?
Slow to speak.
I don't know if you remember, like the very first time we met, when I came to that HQ meeting, we sat down and talked at the end, and I said like I didn't want to come to this church because I wanted to go to a black church.
Oh, wow.
And like what I meant behind that is like when I'm around black people, I feel seen just for being me. I don't feel seen for being black. And I didn't want to be at a church where I can count the black people here and feel different, and
You
like,
got a code switch.
I have to, I have to
Yes,
put
sir.
on more. I have
sir.
to be a certain way. Like Pastor Cruzy says this all the time. Just be yourself. And I'm like, ugh.
Is that what you really want?
You know,
can't-
sometimes,
see, but-
sometimes in our lives, like we have to choose between being ourselves or living.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know,
Being
That's-
judged.
like
Yeah.
even like the small things, like
Yeah.
I don't want to wear my hair like this to work because it's not professional. So do I want to keep my job or do I want to be myself?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like when you're being yourself, and this is code word for being too black. They say you have too much of a big personality.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and-
you're too urban.
Yeah, you know, so it's kind of like there's like, okay, if you want me to be myself, like even right now I have to coach this because the way I talk is not really, you know.
Yeah, we felt up on the way over here.
Yeah,
We were over there talking about it, like, bro, like, so what's the deal? We gonna be real? We gonna, like, how do we like?
So it's
Look,
like,
look. But why? Like, I feel like I got to just say I'm sorry, right?
No, but the thing is,
I know,
it's not
it's not
you.
me. I know it's not us. I know it's not us. But that hurts me so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That hurts
These
me.
are our thoughts. These are our reality. These are the
It
things that
hurts
like
me
you don't
so
think
much.
about, but
Like,
we have
This
to.
is what God created, though.
Right.
Right? This is what God created. And what right do I have to call an expression of God's love, and an expression of God's personality, and an expression of God's uniqueness? What right do I have to call it not right?
Yeah.
Representation
know?
matters. So like when we walk into somewhere and nobody looks like us,
We feel it,
we
bro.
already know that we're in a box. We don't get a pass.
Right.
So say for instance, if I am running late, I'm labeled as black people are always late. They're running on colored people time. If you're running late, you're just stuck in traffic.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like that's not fair.
I think what it is really the media that puts like this perception like black people are always late. Because like when you look at the media about a black person, he's selling drugs, he's in jail, he's been shot.
We just go along with it too.
But when
Like,
have you
Right.
seen on media a black person, entrepreneur, a scholar? You see them, they play basketball, they play football, they rap. But you see them, they're owning businesses, they're doing this and that. But all you
Doctors.
see is
yeah.
Yeah.
all you see is the little thing. They play basketball, they sell drugs. It's either sports or drugs for a black person. You never see a black person doing this in the media. I feel like that's what makes it like people look at us differently because they only see two sides.
It trains their mind,
Yeah.
especially here. Like that's real because like there's not too many of us out here.
Yeah.
So people are gonna base when they see me, I feel like people base what they see off on TV. Oh, like, oh, you dress different. Oh, yeah, you're wearing earrings and tattoos and you have rings on. Oh, he must be like, no, bro. Like, who cares? Like, I'm just me. I happen to like it. Like, was it that nothing to do with who I am? You know what I'm saying? It's just like people here need to. There's always just like this tokenism here that like really bugs me.
Well, let's help understand how, right? Because I'm all for it. Like, and I want this to be a place where you're comfortable saying, look, like when that happens, that's how this makes me feel.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Hey, Cruz, even in our church, I believe that our church has done a good job, an incredible job at being welcoming, at being opening, and
Yeah.
being open, right? Could we do better? Probably. Who can't do better, right? But I think part of our heart is like, help us understand how. Right?
The number one thing I think is code switching, like you said before. Like, don't change the way. Don't try to adapt to me. Like, I don't need you to talk black or use certain slang when you talk to me. Like, that doesn't impress me. It makes you look really corny. Like, I'm not impressed if you know this rap song or like there's not impressed.
Which is incredible though, because it's like my sincerity opens the context for your sincerity.
Yeah.
Right? If I come to you and I say, this is really who I am,
Yeah.
now you're free to be, okay, cool. Like if we're gonna be on the level, bet. Like, okay,
Right.
cool, I'm gonna be me.
Yeah, I don't need you. Like,
That's beautiful.
It's like I have a lot of like friends of different races. I'm not their friend because they relate to me. I don't need you to like make my culture. I mean, as a we're human beings. If we get along, if we're on the same wavelength, like we're gonna get along no matter what. Pastor Chris, my best friend. He's never ever, hey, you check out that new Rick Ross song last night? I was like, yeah. How about that? Yeah, you watched the BET Awards yesterday? Like, crazy, right?
Not
Like,
ever,
no,
not ever. It's
never
like
once.
Tame Impala. Like, what is that? Like,
He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I'm not his friend because he tries to relate to my culture, be black. I'm his friend because of who he is as a person.
Right.
I don't need you to try to adapt to me. That makes me feel like it's weird. Like people
token. It's a
do
token.
that. Like, I don't try to adapt to you, so why are you trying to adapt to me?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have to do that to you. I never seen a white person or Mexican person that felt like, oh, I gotta be more white now, or I gotta like, I wanna be that so he can think I'm cool. Like, nah. But it only happens to us.
Yeah, and that's
Because
the
people
thing.
want to be cool. They
Yeah.
feel like they have to do things to be cool, to be accepted by us. And like, nah, bro, we
I
don't care.
think also education is a big thing. So educating us to, well, I saw this a lot on Facebook. Well, they weren't mad about what happened to George Floyd, but they were mad about the looting and destruction. And I think Pastor Gray said this best, where the yearning and hurt from over 300, 400 years ago of people is now uprising. And so when you're looking as to, well, instead of saying, well, they shouldn't be doing that, or why are you doing this, ask them, why is it that this is happening? So let me sit down and okay, Chris, why do you feel this way? Or Lauren, why do you feel this way? Like, educate me as to why. Help me understand as to why.
You're not just out there
Because I
stealing
think
stuff,
at the end of the day, even though I don't condone any violence or whatnot, but there's always a root issue as to why something happens. It just doesn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's not like black people woke up like, oh, I'm just gonna
Let's go rob Best Buy.
ruin everything. But this is 300, 400 years of being silenced and acting to be okay, where all of a sudden, once I reach the breaking point, I can no longer act that I'm okay. I'm just gonna.
Because nothing else
Let
is
it
working.
all
Nothing else
out.
is working too.
Nothing else is working. I'm
We've
just
been
gonna
trying.
let it all
Like,
out.
what else do you want us to do?
Right.
At this point, I believe, as crazy it is, I really believe at this point that your guys' voices and non-black people's voices are gonna be more powerful than ours are at this point.
Yeah,
Right.
We've been fighting. We've been
Yeah.
fighting this for years,
Yeah.
and nothing's changed.
Right.
You feel me? So that's why people ask me like, "Hey man, how you feel about this?" Like, bro, why don't you post
I'm
on social
tired.
media? Why aren't you doing all that?
Right.
Like, bro,
My feelings don't really matter.
Yeah,
Like,
for
because
what?
We've
It's
been
pointless.
echoing the same thing
Yeah.
that our grandfathers, our great grandfathers
Right.
have been doing. They've been fighting. They've been doing the very same thing.
Right.
You know, you kill one of us, we get upset, and we break stuff.
Nothing happens.
Right.
Nothing
The same
happens,
thing
right?
happens over and over.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
cycle.
So I think now, like other voices, besides our own voices, like
way more powerful.
make it sound different. You know?
And this is why this has been. I saw a tweet today that said all 50 states participated in the protests in 18 other countries. It's the biggest civil rights movement in world history.
Right.
Like, why? Because it's not just us anymore. Everybody's speaking out.
And that's what we have to understand, right? That this whole issue, racism and hatred between human beings, is been an age-old thing, right? One of the very first sins in the beginning was Cain and Abel. Cain was envious; he hated his brother, and he killed him, right? And so this is not a political thing. It's not a left or right issue. It's not a Republican Democrat issue. This is a heaven versus the power of hell issue, right? And I think this that in all of it, right? What's emerging is that beyond just political parties, beyond social economic status, beyond our personal standards, there's this thing in the human spirit that is saying that's not right. That's enough. That hurts me, you know.
Yeah.
And I love this. I love that it doesn't always have to be a big giant political statement, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There is a voice and there is a way to sway it. And there's something coming in November that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And at the culture, we're going to talk about that in the next couple of months. About there is a voice, there is a way to do this, right? But man, we can start in small places, right? Like being aware of the black person on my job, right? Being aware of any kind of singling out, checking people at my family reunion on a Sunday afternoon in the backyard who will say, one of my tios or tias who will say something.
Yeah.
And it always used to be like, oh, that's just how my family talks. Now it's like, you're not going to talk
Straight
like
up.
that.
You know how many times I've heard from like my Mexican friends who are girls, they'll tell me, oh, my parents would flip if I brought home a black guy. Like, bro, what? Like, that's racist, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like speak up.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
say
right.
something. Check them.
That's
How you can make a difference. Check them. Don't be like, oh, like you said, all my family is. Check them.
Nope.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between having a prejudice and being racist. You know, like we all have prejudice, right? Like you can like vanilla ice cream,
Yes.
and I'm like, damn, you like vanilla? that's prejudice.
Right.
But the moment that you make it like, oh yeah, she's black, oh she's white, I would never date her, like, you know. And I think one of the biggest misconception that's out there, and I think the media has a big part to play with it, but I think it's very skewed where people think, oh, black people, where they're angry because of slavery and they just want money back, they want reparation, they just want everything handed out to them. That's not what we're asking.
Yeah,
We're just asking for a level playing field.
We're
We're-
asking for
the bare minimum,
Like-
you know,
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter. Like,
Right.
you see, we're not even saying Black Lives is worthy. We're not even saying Black Lives is important. We're not even saying
Better.
Black Lives is beloved. Like, we're not even saying that. We're just saying the fact is that we matter, and please stop killing us, because it could be, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but like, I don't know George Floyd personally. I didn't know Breonna Taylor personally. I didn't know Ahmaud Arbery personally. But all those things happened, and it's as if like that was like my closest brother.
Yeah.
And the reason why I feel like that, and I know a million of us feel like that, is because of the fact that it could have been me.
Yeah.
And it's for some reason, I don't know if it's the roots, the African roots, or whatever it is, but like it's like a part of you is gone as well. So that's why we feel so emotional about it. It's if we're not related, but my son, my daughters, like
It's like unspoken.
Yeah.
Like the whole
Right.
little, you see a black dude in the mall, you give him a nod. Like it's
Yeah.
unspoken.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's like I think, you know, if you know, yes, the conversation, like having this discussion is gonna help open up things, but we need to have a conversation not just about the police brutality, but about the systematic issues,
Right.
about like how, you know, it was never even an even playing field,
That's the truth.
you know.
Going back. And so I think that's why like it's so important to no longer accept the narrative. Well, it doesn't affect me to no longer accept the narrative that it doesn't affect me, because at the end of the day, even though, like you said, maybe we didn't know them directly, but it's affected me daily.
Well, I think it should
Yeah.
affect all of us because
Yeah.
we're all part of a human race. So yes, it should
Yeah.
affect you. And yes, it should bother you. And
Right.
it should hurt you. And that's why we're here as a culture to the cool thing about prime culture and the Gen Z generation is there was a statistic that about 87 to 90% of Gen Zers are about social change and justice. And so that's an eye-opening statement that brings hope to us, you know, that the generation now, they're not just going to sit back. They're going to speak, and they're looking for change.
And then one thing I think is like how you grow up. So like no kid's born racist. No kid's like, I don't like him.
Yeah.
So it's like you hear these things from your parents. Oh, don't do that. You see that black person there, don't do that.
be careful around
and just,
them.
Yeah. And it's just like if you grow up and hear the same thing over and over and over again, your parents might not blatantly say they don't like black people, but if they just continuously just like discourage black people or say this about black people, then you'll be like, wow, you'll start seeing that and try to force that on them. And then that's how it continues to grow and grow and grow. And I think it has to be, what it takes place is like the parents educating their kids
Yeah.
and showing their kids what is right and what is wrong, and that you don't hate this person because of the color of their skin or how they grow up or like where they're from. It's like a big part of ending what's going on right now in the world.
like ASAP, though, like now while they're young. Like,
Yeah.
like you
That's
guys, your
right.
daughters, like I know you guys do like
Yes, we've already
it
started
matters.
those
Like it
conversations.
matters that they're watching. They
Yes.
matter that they know what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have they're gonna have black friends. They can be like they still remember this and be like, I remember my parents taught me that kind of thing. I remember seeing them when I was happening, and I feel for you, and I'm here for you, kind of
Yeah,
thing. You know what I'm saying?
I think in all of that, you reconcile that with the finished work of Jesus. We have to, right? At the end of the day, this is a heart condition. This is an issue that exists in a broken humanity, right? Pastor Charles said something at our prayer and worship night when he closed the night, and he said, "Yes, we do need to legislate more, and we do need to change legislation. Yeah, we do need to change policing. There does need to be law enforcement reform." He said, "But the only cure, all of that's management. All of that will treat the condition, but it won't cure it. The only cure," and I love that he said it, he said, "is to be born again." Right? When you're born again into a new family, into a new nature, into a new way of doing things. And from the born again context, the greatest commandment of all is you love God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and you love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? And that word love isn't just, oh, we're BFFs, I love you. Like that word love, if we're curious and we're confused about what loving is, just go read 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4-7. And the word love starts off, love is patient. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be patient. That's how I'm gonna love my neighbor. I'm gonna sit patiently with my neighbor, right? Love is kind. I'm gonna be kind to my neighbor. Love doesn't seek its own, right? If I'm gonna love my neighbor, I'm not gonna seek my agenda for my neighbor. Love doesn't keep a record of wrongdoing. Like that's where prejudice comes from. Oh, that one hurt me. They're all like that. You know what I mean? And so love doesn't keep a record of wrongdoing, right? And so like when we're born again, we're born into a family of love, a language of love. And love is not passive. Love is aggressive, and love is assertive, and love is strong, right? And the scripture says this: heaven and earth will pass away. These things will pass, and the greatest of all of these things, right? Faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of them all is love. Why? Because love will never fail. And I really believe this, you guys, that as we continue the conversation away from here, right? At the end of the day, the truth is, and I may run the risk of sounding corny and sounding like this bright-eyed, rosy glasses optimist, right? But love really is the answer. Jesus said this, and if you're a Jesus follower, this applies to every single one of us. By this will men know that you're my disciples. By this will men know that you and I have a relationship. Not that you have the bumper sticker, not that you can sing all the songs, not that you have the playlist, not that you know the hashtags, none of that. By this will men know that you follow me, that you love one another. And John, who is Jesus' best friend, said this: how can you say you love God who you don't see, and not love your brother who you do see? And I think as a culture, we've got to come to a place where we say, hey, I see you. I see you. And I cannot say I love you until I confront the fact that I see you. And until I confront the fact that I see you hurting, I see you crying, I see you heavy, I see you burdened, and I'm going to love you because I see you. And in all of that, that's where we see the hand of God move. And I believe that we are a culture that loves each other because we see each other. And in that love, we'll see the love of God, right? And so you guys, listen, I'm so grateful, and Diana and I are so honored that we were able to have this first of many. Thank you for being so open and so heartfelt. Thank you for being so honest. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Bro.
Our heart is absolutely that we would learn how to take next steps. I can't solve everything, but I can solve some things in me. I can't change the world, but I can change my world. And hey, culture, this is our goal in this conversation, that you would learn to love the way Jesus loved. He saw all. He served all. He went out of his way to serve, to know, and to see the marginalized, the unacceptable, the broken, the ones that no one would touch, the ones that it was against his religious law. He was a Jew. He couldn't go to the Samaritans. It was a sin for him That's racism. Back then, it was like, if you touch those people, you're a sinner, right?
That's
And he
another
said-
conversation. Racism in the church.
right? And he said, I have to go see about a woman, John 4, the woman at the well. He said, I have to go see her. And I pray this, that we are a culture, that our young adult generation at Abundant is a culture that sees God's children, that sees his beauty in them. Matthew 5 says this, that we are the light of the world, bringing out God colors and God expressions. Brown expressions of God, black expressions of God, white expressions of God. Every color in the spectrum is an expression of the Lord. And you guys, I just want to say that we love your color. We love your expression. We love you. And we're grateful for you guys.
Thanks, man.
Hey, culture, we're praying for you. We love you. Go love. Go see. Go ask a question. And let's be the change that we want to see. We love you all. Until next time.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that content.
You know, our heart is this, that we would always, as a culture, learn how to live, to enjoy this life that God came for all of us to live. And so I want you to keep your eyes on our social media, on our YouTube channel. We are going to continue this conversation. We want to make sure that as a culture, we're learning how, we're understanding how, and that we can be good neighbors to all the people that surround us. And so listen, we love you. We love how you love. We love how God loves through every single one of you. And I just want you to know this, that you matter, your life matters, and everything you do to let God shine through you matters, and it makes a difference. There is nothing too small that God cannot use to bring light to your world. And so keep an eye on everything that culture is doing. We're going to be the change that we're praying about seeing. So until next time, we love you. Be the culture.